All right, so we're at the 2023 National Dropout Prevention Conference here in Kissimmee, Florida. And I am really privileged to have one of my friends here, Jose Jacinto, who is from San Jose, California. He's the principal of GW Hellyer Elementary School. And we have been working with him and his staff for the last 2 years or so
sir.
in the trauma-skilled schools model and implementing that framework in the school. We started that coming right out of the pandemic, and so it had a lot of just a lot of impact, and we had a lot of hope that it was going to make a difference and make for a smooth transition for students to come back to school. So, Jose, I want to thank you for being here. You had an opportunity to present here at the conference about Hellyer's really journey in trauma-skilled schools. Just in a nutshell, tell me about that journey real quick.
It was a scary journey at the beginning, not knowing what that might look like. It was very helpful to be with you and your team, John, and kind of give us the layout. I think it was very important for us to have an instructional leadership team, having a member from kinder all the way up to 6, one in each grade level. It allowed us to be able to share the vision for the framework with the whole school, and it helped us to be able to have a buy-in. As we worked the first portion of it and kind of identifying areas that we wanted to target, we really focused on the 5 resilient factors, and that was the nugget that kind of drove the work for us. Specifically around building relationships using those 5 resilient factors. And I tell you, going slow to go fast is a real thing. We were able to focus on 1 resilient factor for a month and a half, and it took us about a year to be able to work through those 5 resilient factors that is the heart of our school.
Okay. And I know when we first got started, it was school was still out. Everything was kind of virtual and distance learning and things. And so we started with you with a virtual lead team meeting.
I remember that.
And a Zoom meeting. We were all getting good at those. And at the end of the meeting, I remember one of your staff, we went through the meeting. I thought it was very positive. And one of your staff members said, John, can you stick around and talk after the meeting?
I didn't know that until you told me,
So we stuck around, everybody else got off, and he and I had a conversation, and he expressed some real hesitation. He was a little concerned about himself making that transition to becoming trauma skilled and doing things differently. There was going to be a lack of control. There were going to be some practices and things that we were asking him to do in the classroom, and not his nature. And he was very hesitant. And he said, "Okay, I don't know about this, but he said I'll try." And I know that really resonated with the folks when we shared a little bit about that, because I think every school has those individuals, and it's been neat as I've had the chance to go back and talk to him and meet with him. He has been faithful to what he said. He has tried some things, and I know a lot of that is through your encouragement. But tell me about that transformation and the transformation of your staff in that regard.
Today I really focused on the importance of relationships, right? So even before we went down the resilient factors, it was important for me to build relationships with each of my staff members, and trust too. With that staff member in particular, supporting him when things were being challenging and challenging behaviors and challenging learning situations, and supporting them through that process. As we build trust, I was able to encourage a little bit more about taking risks, about doing things just maybe a little bit different that felt a little bit uncomfortable. And in those situations, once we have that trust, it goes a long ways. But I could imagine me not building that trust with my staff, or specifically with that individual, then change would be very, very slow or not at all. And it was great to see, at the end, or not the end, but when I came here, as part of the presentation, I wanted a clip of a staff member, and I thought, who better than that individual, because he would be able to illustrate how powerful trauma skills schools and going through the resilient factors can be and have an impact on not just our school but on students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been neat, and I know your encouragement and mentoring of him and your staff, I've seen it. I've seen you go around and talk to them, has been very powerful. We're now working with 10 different schools in your district. You were one of the first 2 that started in 2 years. You are going to be certified in December as the first trauma-skilled certified school in the state of California. Congratulations on that. But working in your district, as in a lot of districts, it's not just your district, but there are some challenges. Number one, I think we have a sense in education, a sense of initiative overload or initiative fatigue, where the district will say, okay, this has to be a priority, this has to be a priority. Oh, and by the way, we're going to do this one as a priority. And then the professional development days are not readily available to handle all of those initiatives and all of those efforts. And you've taken it, you took I thought, a kind of a refreshing stance on that. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. Once, we did our first meeting, and I saw that this is going to be some very meaningful, impactful work if we dedicate the time. And so I made the decision that this is going to be our initiative. For the next 2 years, we are going to focus on our trauma skills schools work and the trauma skills schools framework. Everything else that we have is going to have to feed into that. So that allowed me during my staff meetings or collaboration meetings to focus on building our knowledge around trauma skills schools, around the resilient factors, making sure that all the activities on campus related to one of the resilient factors, and that will build a strong sense of community. It built a strong sense of a positive learning environment, and at the end it just created strong relationships with our students, our parents, and our community. And I think that having that as our foundation allows us now to go into our other facets as far as our district initiatives around reading, around writing, around social emotional, but we are grounded on positive learning environment and strong relationships, which is going to allow us to be able to do that work. My fear is that we end up working on all the other initiatives and we forget about how to build those strong relationships with all the members involved as far as the school, and then really nothing else happens. All those initiatives kind of fall to the wayside as soon as that administrator leaves or a new superintendent comes or what have you. But as far as having strong relationships, if we do that right, and I think that Trauma Skills Schools Frameworks allows for that, then it doesn't matter what comes our way, we'll be able to face those things. Okay.
Now I know you have not ignored the district initiatives.
No, sir.
We can't do that. And you've had district support. Your superintendent's been very supportive. How has Trauma Skilled Schools meshed with any of those other initiatives? And have you been able to use Trauma Skilled Schools to even further those or to blend the principles?
Yeah, here are some of the initiatives that our district is working on. MTSS, which is multi-tier systems of support. You focus on your tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 instruction, but before you even get to that, you work on your vision, mission, and values, right? That is also an important component of Trauma Skills Schools. Then you're also working on your SEL, social emotional learning. That's another initiative. But again, if you do not do purposeful practices in the classroom and build opportunities for students to share their feelings, to express their anger, then that's not going to build some positive relationships. So that's another kind of component that that was focused on our district. Another component was explicit biases, right? We all did some trainings. That goes in line with being able to understand the stressors, or that everybody comes from different situations, and then how you are able to kind of not take your own biases and kind of share them with students, or allow that to block you to be able to connect with those students, or to any not just students but also adults. And then lastly, just recently we're looking at the literacy block and making sure that we're component. But now we're ready for that, right? Because we've already set the groundwork around relationships, and now we can move to tier 1, which is our first instruction, right? But now we have the buy-in from the kids, and then the staff themselves. Also have good relationships, and that will allow us then to do the more difficult work, and to have honest conversations about student learning and student behavior, and how we can improve on that.
Now, you mentioned in the presentation that you felt like your approach and your responsibility in some of this was to decrease your staff's stress.
Yes, sir.
And minimize it as much as you can. What are some ways that were effective in doing that?
First of all, is I have to be genuine with them. I have to model for them like they were going to model for their students. Is making sure that I accept everybody. Being able to find opportunities to celebrate their successes, to create opportunities for connection and belonging. At the very beginning of the school year, looking for ways to make coming back to a new school year exciting, fun, and fresh. As a leader, I have that opportunity, and I have that honor to be able to do that. Because I know if my staff feels connected, if my staff feels that they belong, if my staff feels that the work that they're doing is manageable, that's going to reduce their stress. And through trauma skilled schools, we know that when stress hits, the brain goes offline and nothing else kind of happens. So how do I keep our staff, our students, cognitive thinking active, is by reducing those stress. And so finding different ways to celebrate, not spending too much time in my office, being out on the playground, make sure that I'm visible, saying hello, giving hugs, modeling with students, knowing students' names and greeting them by name. Staff are watching, right? And if I model how to show kindness and appreciation and care, because that's what I want them to be able to do that for our students.
Okay. What are 2 or 3 things that you feel like you've gotten the biggest return on investment regarding trauma skilled schools? What are some of those initiatives, projects, things where you've gotten the biggest bang for your buck? 2 or 3 of them.
The 5 resilient factors, that framework, and leading a lot of the work around building relationships, modeling for students, the adults being able to kind of model for that, and then just what we've really been focusing on is building those strong relationships, because those strong relationships is what's going to allow us to do all the other difficult work that lies ahead of us.
Okay. Your staff respond well to that?
Yes, sir. They're my leadership team are the ones that kind of helped me put this presentation together. A lot of the work that went through that was their work. I just get to have the honor to be able to present it to the National Dropout Conference here. But it is because they did the work and they took that ownership that they respond and see it as their own. Right?
Now, elementary school, you have sibling groups that come through, and they are part of that school for years. They may have a brother that comes through. They move on to middle school. You got another son that comes through, and so you're dealing with parents. You started trauma skilled schools really when you started at the school.
Yes.
Have you had any comments or any feedback that, hey, things are different or things are better? Any feedback you get from parents or students?
For parents, one of the parents that was in our presentation, she commented on how, we have activities that are inclusive, not just for the community, but also on campus, and being able to create that environment where students feel that they are seen, that they are heard, that they belong, and that they're connected.
You mentioned a little bit earlier that
Yeah.
you don't. Now that you're going to be certified as a trauma-skilled school, you're moving on. You're going to start focusing on some of these other areas like instructional effectiveness, some of these other initiatives, and you don't want to lose trauma-skilled schools. How do you keep that going in the midst of the other focus?
That is going to be part of our instructional team to be able to kind of develop, but I already have an idea and be able to kind of share with them and be able to kind of lead some of that work. It's going to be the instructional leadership team to be able to onboard anybody else. We have our booklets, the booklet 1 and the booklet 2, that will help us be able to kind of introduce that to any new staff member that kind of comes our way, so that they could have a common understanding of that. And so making sure that somebody's still there to be able to kind of continue to do that work. Continue our partnership with trauma-skilled schools with you, John, and everybody else, and making sure that we have opportunities like at the beginning of the year or at the end of the year, where you come out and we keep it fresh. We survey, or I survey the staff and the students to see what are some of the needs, what are some of the challenges that we continue to see with students. It could be, like the one that we did at the beginning of this year about de-escalation strategies to be able to support not just students but also staff, on how do we do some self-care, continuing, growing in that kind of area. I think that is how we will be able to kind of keep that, and then continue building around our MTSS model with Tier 1. We've already identified different strategies that we are incorporating this year as around thinking maps, and that is where now I have 4 new different staff members who are taking the lead and being able to present that to staff. But that stemmed from trauma-skilled schools and what is it that our students need. We got the behavioral part, so now we got to move down more towards the academic and instructional part. But staff seeing that success working, and I'm seeing staff wanting to take those leadership roles now more.
Now, you've had several different opportunities to have somebody from trauma-skilled come out to your school and do training, and I understand the trainer that you've had has just been amazing.
He has been.
The highest quality, always on point, relevant,
Yes.
very skilled. One of the best you've ever seen, is that right?
That's right, sir. That's right. Thank you, John.
Okay. Jose, I do want to say that trauma-skilled schools provides that framework. That framework is there, and it's the work that the school and the leadership puts into it. And just from my observation and time being with you, I would just tell you, I think you've done an amazing job. I think you're talking about it's not only important to know this, to help your staff, but to model those principles. I think you're to be commended, and I think there's some tremendous things that I have seen take place at Hellyer. And I just want to congratulate you on being the first school in the state of California that will be trauma-skilled schools certified. So congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Appreciate
you.